Hello friends, welcome to Storyspeak English. Today, I am going to share a very surprising and inspiring story. It is about a man named George Crum, a chef who never planned to change the world, but one day, by accident, he invented something we all know and love, the potato chip. This story will teach us that even mistakes can turn into miracles. Let's begin our journey into the life of George Crum. Vocabulary: inspiring, something that gives hope or encouragement. Accident, something that happens unexpectedly. Chef, a professional cook. Miracle, something wonderful that seems impossible. George Crum's early life. George Crum was born in 1824 in Saratoga Lake, New York. His father was African American, and his mother was part Native American. Life was not easy for George. At that time, many people faced unfair treatment because of their race and background. But George was strong, proud, and determined. He grew up surrounded by nature, forests, rivers, and open skies. As a child, George loved fishing and hunting. He also loved to eat good food after a long day outside. Without knowing it, his passion for food was already growing inside him. Vocabulary: determined, having a strong will to do something. Background: family history, or where a person comes from. Passion: a strong feeling of love or interest. Unfair treatment: not being treated equally or justly. A young man with big dreams. When George grew older, he worked many small jobs. Sometimes he was a fisherman. Sometimes he worked with horses. But deep inside, George wanted more. He wanted to find something that made him special. He soon realized he had a natural gift. Cooking. George could mix flavors in ways that made people happy. He started working in restaurants as a helper, cutting vegetables, cleaning, and watching how the cooks prepared meals. Slowly, he learned the art of cooking. Vocabulary: gift, a natural talent or ability. Flavors, the taste of different foods. Helper, a person who assists others in work. Art of cooking, the skill and creativity used in preparing food. Becoming a chef. George worked hard and never gave up. His hard work paid off when he became a chef at a famous resort in Saratoga Springs, New York. Wealthy people from all over the country came to eat there. At the restaurant, George became known for his delicious fried potatoes. He cut the potatoes into thick slices and fried them golden brown. People loved them. They were soft on the inside and crispy on the outside. George was proud of his cooking. Vocabulary: resort, a place where people stay for rest and fun. Wealthy, rich, having a lot of money. Golden brown, a perfect cooked color, brown but not burnt. Crispy, crunchy, and firm when eaten. The angry customer. One summer evening in 1853, something unusual happened. A wealthy customer ordered fried potatoes. When the plate arrived, he complained that the potatoes were too thick. He wanted them thinner. George felt annoyed. He thought his potatoes were perfect. But he went back to the kitchen, cut thinner slices, and fried them again. Still, the customer was not satisfied. He complained again, saying the potatoes were still too thick. George was now angry. He decided to teach the customer a lesson. He cut the potatoes into paper-thin slices, fried them until they were very crispy, and sprinkled them with salt. Let's see him complain about this, George thought. To his surprise, when the plate was served, the customer loved it. He smiled and said these were the most delicious potatoes he had ever tasted. Other customers wanted to try them too. That night, the potato chip was born. Vocabulary: annoyed, slightly angry, satisfied, happy with the result. Paper-thin, extremely thin, like paper. Sprinkled, scattered small pieces, like salt, on top of food. The birth of the potato chip. George did not know it, but his crispy invention would one day become one of the most popular snacks in the world. The customers at the restaurant kept asking for his thin fried potatoes. They called them Saratoga chips. Soon, people from outside the town also heard about these chips. Visitors carried the story home, and the idea began to spread. George had created something new by accident. Vocabulary: invention, something new that is created. Snack, a small portion of food eaten between meals. Spread, to move from one place to another. Visitors, people who come from another place. George's fame in the kitchen. The potato chips made George very popular. Guests often asked to see him, and they praised his cooking. Some even traveled just to taste his famous Saratoga chips. But George remained a hard-working chef. He did not think of himself as a great inventor. For him, cooking was his life, and making people happy with food was his joy. Vocabulary: fame, being known by many people, praised, said good things about someone. Inventor, a person who creates something new. Joy, a strong feeling of happiness. After George's accidental creation in 1853, Saratoga chips became the talk of the town. Every guest who visited the Moon's Lake House, the restaurant where George worked, wanted to try them. The chips were unlike anything people had eaten before. They were thin, crunchy, and full of flavor. Word spread quickly. Travelers who visited Saratoga Springs returned to their cities and told their friends about the magical chips. Some even carried small bags home, showing off the new snack to neighbors and family. Soon, newspapers wrote about the chips. They described them as a delicate and delightful treat. The more people heard, the more they wanted to taste George's special creation. Vocabulary: talk of the town, something that everyone is discussing, unlike, different from something else. Traveler, a person who moves from one place to another, delicate, light, and fine in taste. A chef becomes a legend. George never imagined that his joke against a picky customer would change his life. People now traveled not just for the resort, but for his chips. His kitchen was always busy, and he became one of the most respected chefs in the region. But George was not just famous for potato chips. He was also known for his fish dishes, game meats, and creative cooking. Customers loved his confidence and unique style. Many described him as strict, but talented, a man who knew his worth. Still, it was the chips that made him unforgettable. People began calling them Crumb's chips. They were no longer just food. They were history in the making. Vocabulary legend. A person remembered for something amazing, picky, hard to please, creative, full of new and original ideas. Unforgettable. Something or someone you cannot forget. Starting his own restaurant in 1860, George Crum took a bold step. With his growing fame and savings, he opened his own restaurant in Saratoga Springs. The restaurant was named Crumb's House. It quickly became a popular place. Rich people, politicians, and even celebrities visited his restaurant to eat the famous chips and other fine meals. Crumb's house was stylish and busy, filled with laughter, music, and the sound of people enjoying their food. George made sure everyone was treated with respect, no matter who they were. That was rare at the time because society was unfair to people of color. But inside Crumb's house, guests were equals. Vocabulary bold, brave and confident. Savings, money kept for the future. Celebrity, a famous person, equal, having the same rights and value. The chips spread across America. Even though George became famous locally, he never patented his invention. That means he didn't register it legally as his own creation. Other restaurants and cooks began making their own versions of potato chips. Soon, chips spread across America. By the late 1800s, they were being sold in stores and street markets. Later, in the early 1900s, chips were packed in wax paper bags to keep them fresh. This allowed them to travel farther and last longer. Potato chips were no longer just Saratoga chips. They had become America's favorite snack. And though many people began making and selling them, the true origin traced back to George Crum and his small act of rebellion in the kitchen. Vocabulary patent, a legal right to protect an invention. Version, a different form of something. Fresh, recently made, not spoiled. Origin, the beginning or source of something. The man behind the chips. Even as potato chips became a national phenomenon, George remained humble. He enjoyed his work, his family, and his community. He never became extremely rich, but he gained respect. Some say George never cared about money. What mattered to him was the art of cooking and seeing people enjoy his meals. His restaurant continued to attract visitors until he retired. George lived until 1914, passing away at the age of 90. He left behind no children, but he left something greater. A snack loved by millions around the world. Vocabulary phenomenon. Something extraordinary that many people notice. Humble, modest, not showing off. Respect, admiration from others. Retired, stopped working after a long career. The global rise of potato chips. After George's death, potato chips grew bigger than anyone could have imagined. Companies started mass producing them. They created new flavors like barbecue, cheese, sour cream, and more. Potato chips spread not only across America, but also to Europe, Asia, Africa, and beyond. Today, billions of bags are eaten every year. Chips are in school lunchboxes, parties, football stadiums, and even airplanes. They are more than food. They are part of culture. But behind every bag of chips is a story of an African-American chef named George Crum, who accidentally changed the way the world snacks. Vocabulary mass producing, making large amounts of something in factories. Beyond, further than a certain limit. Culture, traditions, and lifestyle of people. Accidentally, not planned, happening by chance. The lesson of George Crum, the story of George Crum, teaches us something important. Sometimes mistakes can lead to great discoveries. George never planned to invent chips. In fact, he only wanted to make fun of a customer, yet his mistake became his greatest gift to the world. We also learn about resilience. Despite the challenges of his time, being a man of mixed race in the 1800s, George worked hard, believed in himself, and found success. He turned his kitchen into a place of creativity, respect, and joy. So, next time you eat a chip, remember the lesson. Every small action, even a mistake, can create something big. Vocabulary, resilience, the ability to stay strong during difficulties, challenge, a difficult situation or test. Creativity, using imagination to make new things. Gift, something valuable, given or discovered. Outro closing speech. For Storyspeak English, thank you friends, for listening to this inspiring story of George Crum, the accidental genius of the potato chip. From a simple kitchen in Saratoga to billions of bags around the world, his story reminds us that mistakes can sometimes become miracles. Always remember, work hard, stay honest, and never give up. Who knows? Maybe one small action from you can also change the world. This is Storyspeak English, bringing you stories that teach, inspire, and improve your English. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so you never miss another amazing story. See you in the next video. Vocabulary inspiring, giving hope and motivation. Miracle, something wonderful and surprising. Honest, always telling the truth. Subscribe to follow a channel and receive updates.